You think very good.
You sink deep. You sink good. Oh my God, my socks.
All right, are we on?
I guess we are on. You can't see my shoes. Great, because they
Finally,
suck.
hopefully this time everything is gonna go smoothly all the way to the end. Ba 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 bum.
All right, time for the intro. Roll intro. Let's go back to the concept of experts. I feel like that's kind of like a good topic too. And I'm always
Okay.
I've always reflected on this because you're gonna have these situations that they're all true and they coexist even though they seem like they're at odds with each other. You're gonna have experts.
Yeah.
That's true. It's a fact, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna have experts that disagree with each other.
Yeah.
Right, and people are going to base their opinions on the opinions of experts. But what happens when your expert disagrees with my expert? We just back into the tribe situation where, oh, I like this scientist, I like the way this guy talks, I like the way,
Yeah.
right? And the problem, what has happened with a lot of this, the broadcast in real time of how science is made, is that the people are not ready to see experts disagreeing, because this is something that happens in when they go into conferences and everybody is, through publications and how the peer review process happens. You get a bunch of data, you do your research, and then you publish it, and then it's going to get scrutinized by the scientific community. And then you're going to have people who it will either be shelved or like will be fixed, or whatever happens afterwards. Or you go into these conferences where all the doctors in the world come and talk about the new way to do heart surgery, and a guy comes and talks about his experience and how he has had success in this small sample of patients or data or whatever. Insert random scenario, because I'm not a doctor, so this is all just me picking up on how the wiener is made, so to speak, in the scientific community, in the scientific world. And only after a while, there's like there's a bug, there's a buffer, there's a lag between when science starts becoming used, like think any flagship treatment to any new disease or any old disease that has a brand new technology that kind of shifts the way people do things, like a cancer treatment. The way people treat cancer these days is not the same as people did it 20, 30, 40 years ago. Technology has evolved, right? But before you can say for a fact and can be widely accepted that this new treatment is the best option that you have, it's going to be a while. It's going to be years, right? Maybe 10 years, maybe 20 years, until people start teaching that in colleges. And so it comes from experience going all the way down like a pyramid into the rest of society and being acceptable. And we, during, for example, taking the example of the pandemic, we were exposed to this process that was happening right in front of our eyes, and we do not have the understanding to process and filter this information. And so for us, we have this one guy, our good old Dr. Fauci, loved by some, hated by others, but he's sort of like the skipper of the boat, and he's been put into this position because of his credentials, right?
Yeah.
Which is not to say that he's the only person that knows about the topic, of course, but at the same time, what he says and what he decides is informed by a number of variables, which is important to consider when we're listening to him, right? For example, a classic example for me is like, oh, Fauci changed his opinion on masks, right? First, you didn't need masks, then you did need masks. And for me, I hear this, and maybe it's me like trying to make sense, but I process
And
this.
then you needed 2 masks.
Needed 2 masks, and I process this from this point of view. He's not only dealing with the silence, he's dealing with the group psychology. He's dealing with the psychology of the whole country. What happened when there was a hint of what's it called? Delivery, what do you call the supply chain breakdown? What happened? Toilet paper flew out of the stores. You couldn't buy toilet paper. This makes no sense. Right? Why does toilet paper become like this asset
I
that
think people are
think
afraid of
exactly? Fear makes you do stupid things.
like a global disaster.
Exactly. So
once they
imagine,
announced that it was a pandemic and they started announcing the lockdowns, people thought that they weren't going to be able to get out of their houses, not even to go
to the store
buy,
to buy toilet paper,
yeah, they were just like
buy a bidet. It's reusable.
supplying.
So take that information, and now I'm a
Buy
guy.
a bidet.
I'm a guy who's supposed to like make policy. If I go on the microphones like everybody needs to use a mask, what's going to happen to the masks? They're going to fly off the shelf, which they did.
Yeah.
You know, but in a situation where you live in a insert capitalist society, like
Now they're on sale.
dig. Now they're on sale. Why? There was no stockpile. You didn't have, because, you know, to make efficient, there's like always a number where you don't want too little of something nor too much of something, and you're definitely not prepared for like an extreme emergency like what we lived through.
Yeah.
So like, okay, in order to conserve stock, we need to say this in a way that will put the mask in the faces of the people who need it the most first, and then when the industry can catch up as far as numbers, then we can open it up to the rest of the people, because the people who are going to be in the hospitals are definitely the most at risk. We're not going to say everybody needs a mask, and then the poor nurse or the poor doctor in the hospital, they don't have access, they can't buy it because it's out of stock.
Yeah.
Right. So that's how I process. I don't think, oh, what a flip-floppy guy. That's point one. Point two, the way I also process it is like, this is a developing situation, right?
So you're learning as
you go.
as
And
you go.
in hindsight like they say in America, it's 2020. You understand exactly what you did right and what you did wrong looking back. Looking forward is not so obvious. And so you trust the people who you put in charge, quote unquote, to do the best possible decisions with the information, the most current information. And then you have to understand that there's no such thing as one size fits all solutions. And you just kind of have to find a solution that sort of like influences in a positive way the largest group of people that you can. Therefore, it's not easy being up there calling shots. And I'm not making excuses for wrongdoing or anything like that. I'm just stating what I think it's sort of like a more nuanced opinion on the actual process of things. And that's one expert against a bunch of experts.
I guess some experts will say like they made it more alarming than necessary. You know, they created this fear mongering media that was just constantly spreading fear in the population that was worse for the population. That there was this COVID mania that was kind of developed in people's, minds, and it was bad for their psychological health.
And you have people seeing the
rates
exact
of suicide went up because of the lockdowns. It was not really healthy for our immune systems not to be in contact with nature or the outdoors or with each other. So there was a lot of controversial topics, like when everything started, the lockdowns and everything, and all the measurements that were
not the measurement. Well, is it measurement?
The measures.
The measurements is the same word in Portuguese, but means different things in English.
Yeah. Measurements.
Yeah, measurements is both measures and measurements in Portuguese, right?
Measurements here, you only use it for,
and that's a measurement.
Okay.
And you can say, oh, this is a measure that I'm applying
medidas.
To the situation. Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
So the measures that were taken. Yeah. So there was a lot of, discussion on that. I remember seeing videos of a lot of doctors, contesting those measures and the laws that were, put in place, the lockdowns, and some experts said, that wasn't necessary. That was actually worse. And
but
some
in
people,
hindsight or
some people
during the
saying,
time?
And what do you mean?
I mean, like
what during the time,
what are you doing versus like, oh, well, now after we know what we know.
No, during the time of lockdowns, I remember seeing videos of a lot of people from the medical industry, doctors, talking about how the immune system works and that wasn't the ideal. And I'm just not quoting, but I'm just saying like what I heard. I'm not saying what my opinion is.
That's the one of the fallacies. That's the expert fallacy.
Oh yes, but see, well, I mean,
right.
Why are the experts? Why do they exist if we cannot quote them? or if we cannot empower our speech
Well, I think you would
with their
say.
speech,
I think you would say.
or
Well,
validate
that's
our ideas with their ideas.
no. But the fallacy
Because
is not
at the end of
passing
the
the
day,
ball. Is at least saying you agree with it. This is my point of view. I'm not validating something. Oh, these are people. I don't know about this information, but you're also putting it out there to use it as an
because I'm
argument.
not an expert myself, so I can only
Really?
say, well, that's not my opinion. That's doctors
X, Y, and Z.
X, Y, and Z's opinion, and I agree with it or I disagree with it. You can always
Well,
ponder that.
technically, if you agree with something, doesn't that make it kind of your opinion by definition?
Right. If you disagree with it, it's not your opinion.
Exactly. This
Okay.
is my opinion, but I don't agree with it.